G'day, Phil Britton here at Martial Arts Business Success Podcast, and today we've got an amazing guest, someone who I just asked, how long have you been doing martial arts? And he said, my birthday, 1980, so 36 years of martial arts, and we got Justin Boylan here, and as always and ever, jovial, we got Graham McDonald as well.
Hey, so look, Justin, I really appreciate your time and taking the time out of your busy schedule and day to share with us and share with our listeners and viewers. So let's just dive in so we can get moving on it. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a very humble person who doesn't like to speak much about themselves, but from a martial arts perspective, how long and how did it all start?
I started in February 1980, and I had an interest in martial arts for a while before that. I'd been competing in swimming and surf life saving and was coming towards the end of that. And my second eldest brother had done some martial arts whilst he was in the army, and he was back on Christmas holidays. And we got talking about it, and he took me down to the local dojo, and we started there training with Rod Stroud at the Scarborough Surf Life Saving Club, which was the surf club I was a member at, so I knew how to get there, and yeah, I've enjoyed it immensely.
Brilliant. So, on your journey, has there been any sort of moments that have stood out for you as a martial artist? I certainly know that we have the utmost respect. We regularly train with yourself. You've got some, vast amount of knowledge for the years you've been doing this. But is there anything on your journey that stood out that you thought, wow, look, that was a real sort of moment in time?
I guess the things that really stood out for me were the innovations in the martial arts that came about in my time. And I started in 1980. It was unheard of to go into another style. And if your instructor caught you training at another dojo, even if it was another karate dojo, that was it for your membership down there. And you may get a special sparring session on the way out the door. So that's been a big difference. And certainly, the first thing I ventured out into was to do some wrestling. And that was really, eye-opener for me in regards to how good they were at what they did, how humble they were. I was amazed at one social event, there was an incident with some drunk, which I was able to move on without, and with a minimum of fuss. And they were just like, oh, I can't believe you spoke to that guy, and weren't you afraid of getting hit, and this and that. And I'm thinking like, man, you guys are picking me up and throwing me down my head every time I go to training. But they had no confidence that they had any self-defense skills. They totally saw it as a sport. And then of course from there, Mr. Bob Jones introduced kickboxing and then Thai boxing to Australia, and that was a big push with the training. And then the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became famous through the underground tapes you'd see of the fights. We'd all gather and watch those terrible grainy VHS tapes, and we started from there in about 1992, working on that and trying to understand it. And then of course, the Filipino arts became available, and recently been doing quite a bit of Japanese swords.
Excellent.
So, Justin, just to give the viewers out there, for some people who may not know you, you're obviously a Kyoshi, and listening to all the different styles, you're trained in multiple arts, high-level martial artists, under many sort of banners, but I guess sort of your home base has always been Bob Jones Corporation, under Chief Bob Jones?
That's correct. And I always think of, Bob's motto of the best in everything in progression, and, go out and find the best Thai boxing and bring it back. Yep. Find the best wrestling, the best jiu-jitsu, the best weaponry, and bring it back. And then through doing work in security as a defensive tactics trainer and as a firearms trainer, you start to consider things that you never considered before. Safety aspects. What are the safety aspects when we train? It's all important in firearms training because of the terrible consequences if there's a safety breach. But then you start to think about that warm-up exercise. Is it really a good warm-up exercise? Is it going to be good for a 50-year-old guy, a 60-year-old guy? So when you get that new information, for me, I like to take it back and compare it to the other things I've done to make the other stuff better. And I feel that my Zendo Kai karate has always gotten better because of my wrestling, because of my jiu-jitsu, because of my weaponry studies.
I think for the viewers out there too, what Kiyoshi Justin brings to the table is not just training on the mat in the dojo, but the defensive tactic stuff. Then also, obviously, the stuff that you used to do on the door work in nightclubs and pubs and clubs is being able to use various escalated levels of force, from minimal to, I'm sure, high level, to be able to move people on, so to speak.
Yep.
Have you been in any situations where you thought, geez, I may be out of my league here, or have you always thought that the knowledge that you've had in your training has been equal to what you could handle out there in the real world? Because I think there's a disconnect between what people learn in the dojo and what we might actually have to use out there in the real world. A lot of people don't get that chance.
Very true. You can get it through competing in a genuine event with a evenly matched opponent. You can get it in defensive tactics work, and some people call it the knowing-doing gap. There's what I know, and there's what I can do. We can all sing in the shower. Can we sing in front of 20,000 people on a stage? We can all look amazing on the bag. We can do incredible focus pad work. We can even spar very well. But can I do it when that adrenaline hits? And for me, I think I was lucky that I started out and we were working with, you know, experienced guys when we started doing the security work. So you might have been wet behind the ears, but the other guy wasn't. And you just followed his instructions, and you certainly found out what you could do and what you couldn't do. And if you went too far, using too much force, the police certainly informed you about what you could do and what you couldn't do. So through working through that, you know, got to figure it out. The defensive tactics work is more hard now than it's ever been before. There's so many videotapes, so much recording. People are so aware of their rights, but sometimes they forget that the other person has a right. He has a right to enjoy his night out. He has a right to quietly enjoy his meal. He has a right to not hear foul language.
Wow. Look, I'm sure the listeners and the viewers would agree what a wealth of knowledge you have in the martial arts aspect. Let's just flip it over to sort of the bit more of that business now. You've had experience working in government. You run multiple different businesses. How have you found, again, with business, how's that changed to how it is nowadays?
So I started when I left school in the public service, and I was there for 16 years and did a lot of different jobs in a lot of different departments. I don't know if I really enjoyed the work, but I learn a lot. And nowadays, when you run combat sports events or you do defensive tactics training, there's always a government authority that you answer to. So I feel like I've got a good rapport and good communication with them, and I understand what they're trying to achieve, even though I may not agree about how they go about it, but at least I understand it. And then from there, we had a nightclub, a share in a nightclub for a while. So I was a defensive tactics trainer, did the door work, owned a venue, was a licensee, then ran the training. So it gives you a 360 degree of it. As a doorman, I loved it when it was quiet. As an owner of a premises, I hated when it was quiet. And as a guy teaching defensive tactics training, you know, you've got to be very clear about what is reasonable and proportionate and what's not.
Look, I guess, you know, also too, you travelled the world extensively and visited, you know, many different dojos on your journey. How have you seen in the last maybe decade or even prior to that how professional sort of schools are starting to evolve? Or in your own opinion, what separates, you know, some good schools from other schools, or what makes them stand out?
I remember I had a former Marine walk into a school hall where I was teaching martial arts, probably in 1990, and he trained and we ended up doing some security work together. He was a very good operator. And then when I bought my first full-time premises in 1994, he came down, he looked around and he goes, "Wow, proper dojo, like America." I was like, "What do you mean like America?" And he goes, "Well, no one trains at a school hall in America. Everyone's got a full-time place." So I think I better get on a plane and go to America. And you get over there and you see the scale of the schools, the professionalism, the level of equipment. There used to be a boxing gym, full stop. There'd be a karate dojo, full stop. Now you go to places that have amazing facilities, full wrestling match, full jiu-jitsu match, full boxing ring, full striking area, weaponry systems, shops, weightlifting equipment, showers, change rooms, supplements. You know, really incredible. It's really become a business instead of a hobby. So that's a big change I've seen, the professionalism of the businesses, also of the owners, not all of them, but also of the owners. Some of the owners really are amazing with their martial arts. They've got a number of martial arts on offer. They're not a one-trick pony. If you want to go there, you can learn Muay Thai, you can learn karate, you can learn jiu-jitsu, you can get defensive tactics training. Some schools offering Krav Maga systems. So wide variety, and not all the schools, but the better schools, professional in how they go about things, policies and procedures, and they believe in self-development. And they believe in using the martial arts as a way to physically and mentally develop yourself. Not just, I'm going to get a guy, I'm going to give him a funny haircut, turn him into a thug, set him loose.
What about, just going on that, on the way the business has changed, what about instructors or martial artists themselves? You know, you're saying how it's evolved and you've got some amazing facilities. I sort of look at yourself, Kyoshi, as someone who's deeply rooted in tradition but able to move with the times. Whereas you sometimes get the instructors who've been doing it 20, 30 years and they're like, "No, not changing, this is the way it's done," and you know, they're not going to change the way it's done, and that's fine because that's the way they want to do it. But I guess sort of like technology, if you don't sort of keep up with the way things are going, you will get left behind. What's your view on that?
It's very true. If you're not careful, you will get left behind. The world won't change to suit you. And you need to change to suit the world. That doesn't mean you've got to trade in your values. It doesn't mean you've got to dumb down what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to take the information that's out there. And remember, no disrespect to anybody that's come before me, they've done the best that they could do with the information that they had. Were they getting the best information available at the time? That's the first question. The second question is there better information available now? And you need to be out there doing it, and you need to be out there evolving yourself and looking forward to the next thing that you can do. You are not always going to be a top competitor. You need to be happy to move on, enjoy that in its time, be happy to move on, be a great coach, be a great official, be a great promoter of events.
Fantastic. Look, I guess there's one final thing, and it's always hard to predict the future, but in your opinion, where would you like to see the future of martial arts go? And I'm not just saying, Perth or Australia in general. Do you see a trend starting to occur nowadays? I know there's UFC gyms and gyms like that popping up all the time, and they're sort of folding as well. Where would you like to see the martial arts go for the next decade and beyond?
I think where it will go is it will follow the trends from the big population centres, the trends in America, the trends in Europe. Typically that's what happens in Australia. I think there will be a time, hopefully soon, where people can check that the person they're training with is genuinely qualified to teach what he's teaching. It's unfortunate there's a lot of people out there who aren't what they claim to be, and that can be dangerous. They can be doing dangerous practices. They may be teaching things that don't work, and a person has an unrealistic expectation about what they can perform. You need to know where you are, and then I can figure out where I want to get to. And if I think my skill set is that I can safely handle a 10-year-old child, well then that's what I should start with. And if you think your skill set is improved and you can handle 8 large men, well, you better be pretty confident in your skills if you want to take that on. They may have a different idea.
Yeah, fantastic. Wise words as always. Look, I guess, we were very appreciative of the time that you spent just in this part 1. We've got a 2-part series in this. We're going to touch on in the next podcast about training for the future. And again, that longevity in your training practices. Because I know that, kicking the bags 1,000 times every day, it'll only last a certain amount of years. So I know that Justin's going to share some great tips and strategies that helped him get to the level he is, but also maintain a great healthy lifestyle and a great balance with training and a great regime.
Cool, guys. So awesome podcast today. Can't wait for part 2. Don't forget, if you do have any particular questions, thoughts, feelings, discoveries out there within the industry, things that we can help you with, if we can't, we like to interview people who can. So send through the questions, guys. It's all about giving you the value and the tips, tools and strategies that you need to build, grow and monetize your business. So we'll catch you on the flip side. Ciao.